raw consciousness does not require a savior, but rather, raw consciousness requires only knowledge of oneself and the power to access it. Remember this, as we unlock an even greater gnosis from beyond the veil.
From the Pacific Northwest, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be across the nation, around the world. I'm Sheree Geo. I will be taking you beyond the veil this evening. I'm joined, of course, by my lovely wife and co-host, Mrs. Geo.
Good evening, everyone.
And tonight, we're going to do a YouTube exclusive. We may broadcast this later on our affiliates, but we're not really worried about affiliate stations right now. Because we have a lot of video that we want to go over with everybody. So I figure the best thing to do is to do the YouTube exclusive here. We want to talk more about the Ra mission. We want to elaborate on the next part of the story. If you haven't been following along, essentially what happened is that we were called to Egypt. And throughout the course of the last 10 years that we've been working with Ayahuasca, we have been unlocking a lot of this gnosis within ourselves that has brought us to this point of the Ra mission to go to Egypt to access and activate these ancient sites. And we have had wonder after wonder after wonder taking place after these sites were activated, like a big historical flood in Cairo right after the pyramid situation, a big windstorm in the Temple of Hatshepsut, and rain in Abydos. I mean, it's been one after another. And so the progression was we got to Egypt with some energy work in the pyramids. Then we went down to Luxor and we did some ayahuasca. We did an ayahuasca ceremony in the Temple of Hatshepsut that's on our YouTube channel here, youtube.com/beyondtheveil. Then we went to several other temples in Luxor as well. We didn't drink ayahuasca at them, but we did some energy work and things like that. We also went to Saqqara, several other places. I mean, this is a huge story. So check out that video if you haven't yet, the Temple of Hatshepsut video. After that, we went down to Aswan and we went to the Temple of Philae. And unlike the Temple of Hatshepsut, where we had a portion of the temple reserved for us, and it was in the middle of the day. It wasn't really ideal circumstances, but the doors happened to unlock for us, and we took the opportunity to make it happen. The Temple of Isis was one of the main targets, as well as the Great Pyramid. And the Temple of Isis, this was done in the middle of the night. This was done with nobody else in the temple. Now, the people that allowed us access gave us a stipulation that we couldn't film the actual ayahuasca ceremony. We can film anything leading up to it. We can film afterwards, but we can't film the actual ayahuasca ceremony as it happened. So, we're going to go over some of the video that we have here leading into the event. We'll also go over some of the video of us when we were talking about the event after the fact. And it was a very intense situation. So what are your thoughts, Mrs. Geo?
Well, my thoughts are that this experience was so incredible, and there's so much to say. There's so much we could say about just the Temple of Philae. I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day about this trip, and she didn't know anything about anything. She, was completely in the dark about the Aya Life crystals, all of it. She didn't know anything about anything, and it literally took me 5 hours to get even to the middle of the story, because this story it's so much bigger than just drinking ayahuasca in the Great Pyramid. It's this whole thing put together is the story, and that would take hours and hours and hours to even get through half of it. So, my thoughts are, I guess we'll just take this in little chunks and kind of split it up into little parts, and then talk about those parts here on the show, because I mean, there's so much to say. There's so much we could say, especially about the Temple at Philae.
There is, and we're actually working on a film. It's called Resetting the Matrix. We came up with a name for it, Resetting the Matrix. It's, I think, a great name, and also a book to go along with it, because this story has to be told in the right manner. And you're getting bits and pieces here on the show, but when we put together the film, when we put together the book, it's really going to tie everything all in together from beginning to end. Holographic reality, what is raw consciousness, what is ayahuasca, leading us into these experiences, what happened during these experiences. And I've got to say, it's a lot more difficult to put all of this together than it was to actually go to these ancient sites, access them, and turn them on and activate them and do all of this. So, you know, maybe that was my apprehension of coming back, because I didn't want to come back. I felt like, oh, my mission is done. My work is complete. And then now the mission is, okay, well, you got to tell the story. You got to, you know, you got to bring people in to the understanding that you came across during all of these experiences. And I think my higher self was like, no, that's way more difficult than it was going and resetting the matrix. But we picked up the website, resettingthematrix.com. We haven't done anything with it yet, but that's where you can get all the updates. So, and also here on YouTube, youtube.com/beyondtheveil. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. But let me kind of give you the backstory first and foremost. So we went through hell in Egypt. Yes. I mean, you know, imagine you're an ancient soul and you come back and you see Egypt in the state that it is. It's basically a camel toilet at this point. The pyramids are just, you know, the pyramids are beautiful, but around the pyramids, it was hell. Same with the other sites. I mean, at every site, it's turned into a freaking flea market and a circus. So we finally get to the Temple of Isis in the middle of the night. And then all of a sudden, her energy, her wings just opened up and just embraced us and was like, here are my babies. Welcome. Not even my babies. It's like, you know, here are my warriors. But it was kind of like, you know, the way she greeted us was like a mother greeting a child, even though we're not mother and child. We're more like on the same level. It's like different people of on the same team. And one of the things that I told her when I first encountered her at her temple is, you better be ready for what's coming. And as opposed to me or her telling me that, I was telling her that because I knew that I was going to the Great Pyramid to do what I needed to do. And I needed her and everybody else to be on their A game, just like I was willing to be on my A game. So the dynamic was a little bit different, but there was that initial embracing, first and foremost, of the wings saying, you've been through all this shit. I'm embracing you now. Welcome. So let's start with this clip here. Now this was all live streamed on Facebook as well. To you from beyond the veil. We're here at the Temple of Philae. I know you can't see anything right now, but we're about to light this place up. So I wanted everybody to be here with us as we do the ceremonial turning on of the lights. Now these are some long videos, so I'm going to skip through them, you know, here and there, but I wanted to film the lights being turned on.
Welcome.
Yes.
Welcome your home here.
Yes.
This is what you booked today to be your house, your home.
I think she was speaking through him.
Excellent.
Because he was saying, welcome to your home. This is going to be your home for the next few hours.
The main entrance of the temple. I'd like first to show you where is the entrance and how you can enjoy your time here.
Okay.
And before the sunrise, that is important for you to enjoy the temple before the sunrise. And then after the sunrise, if you would like to ask about anything in the temple, I will show you the most important scenes inside the temple.
Okay.
Okay. After the sunrise.
Fantastic.
Okay? I will describe all of the temple.
It's making me want to cry.
Tell the inner part.
Okay.
The sanctuary.
I want to be there.
And then we're gonna leave before the people come to the temple.
That sounds great.
Around
feeling there.
Are they going to turn the lights on?
Sorry?
Are they going to turn the lights on?
Yes.
Oh, okay, excellent.
The light of the temple?
Yes.
No.
Oh, they don't turn the lights of the temple on.
Yes.
Oh, I thought they turned it on. Okay.
It was total darkness. And that is
something special also to know that to enjoy your spiritual, with the
fantastic
goddess. When the sunrise, you're gonna see everything, okay, without light, and I will show you what we have inside the temple.
Fantastic. Where's
this is
Holy of Holies?
Yes.
Take me to the Holy of Holies.
Our location here in the open court of the temple allow to the normal people to stay here. Not allow for the normal people to go inside the temple.
Okay.
And surrounded by two colonnades. The first pylon over there. If you're gonna get this gateway, you will reach the second open court. At the left side, the birth house. You can get it also from the left door. This is the entrance of the birth house.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yes.
And the sanctuary straight
ahead.
Yeah, ahead.
Let's
you
go.
will find the middle room at the end.
Excellent.
There is 3 rooms, the right one, the left one, the middle one. The middle one which dedicated for Isis, and the right and left, the middle one which would dedicated for Osiris, the left one dedicated for Isis, the right one Isis, and the left one our left. You know, the left and the right.
Let's check it out real quick.
Okay. So go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I can come to show you that where is it exactly if you like.
So let's. I'm gonna skip forward a little bit when we get actually inside. And again, this is a Facebook live stream, so the quality is subpar. In hindsight, I wish we would have focused more on recording with the higher quality camera. And we do have footage of this with the higher quality camera, but we have more footage of the Facebook Live, which, you know, but again, it was important for us to stay energetically connected with everybody. That was first and foremost because we were there on a mission. We weren't there filming a documentary. We weren't there, you know, getting shots and getting good shots. We were there getting some shit done.
Mm-hmm.
Still perfect. The second reason is the Coptics. Another crosses here to the right and left of the entrance. Here is the different shape of the Coptics cross. This is the hypostyle hall of this temple, which converted to prayer hall. They were praying inside. That's why you'll find on each one of the pillars there is different crosses.
Oh, yes.
Behind you also.
So the Christians went in here and they just tore the temple up, tore Isis's face up, and put crosses everywhere.
Altar.
But we did something about that.
And there.
This is it.
Yes.
Yes.
And there is another one, the most important.
Now, let me stop right here for just a second and explain what this is. There are several altars within the temple, and this particular altar was the one that the Christians took over, and they turned it into an altar to Yahweh. That wall back there, and we've got a higher quality film of this, that wall back there was completely scraped bare. So all of the hieroglyphs, all of the messages, all of that were there behind this altar are gone now. That to me was an energetic sign that there is something there that they were trying to cover up. Now, they didn't know they were doing this consciously, but energetically, they felt the energy coming from this particular altar, and they knew they were trying to erase it, but little did they know what they were actually doing was they were giving us a sign of where this portal actually is. So let's continue with the video.
Which located inside the sanctuary. We're looking for this one especially. So it is original one, and this is each carved by the Coptics to put the candles here and communion over this altar.
Okay.
And the Coptics who erased everything on the walls. You'll find the lower part of the walls erased completely by the Coptics to hide everything back to the ancient religion.
This is
from the
important
prayer
hall.
hall.
This is where the Stargate is.
To the
You're right.
next
This is where the
floor.
Stargate is. There's another one? Okay.
Different crosses also here, and some inscriptions back to the Greek. To the Greek, this is the an offering hall. They were purified. Supposed to find stairs here, lead us to the second floor. But when the temple covered by the water, all of this stairs and the chapels which built on the second floor destroyed. You can find here the king, Ptolemy #2, purifying all of the offerings kinds which came to the temple. You can see different kinds of the offering: seeds, vegetable, perfume, incense, meat, fish, everything here. He was purified by the water and take it by this shortcut to reach the sanctuary. Let's go
Purified by the water, brought through
by
here.
the water.
So essentially, the priests would do their holy thing there and do all that, and then walk through here to get to the Holy of Holies. Nobody was allowed into the Holy of Holies. No common people, nothing like that. And as a matter of fact, even when this place is open to the public, you're not allowed to touch the stone. You're not even allowed to get close to the stone inside of the Holy of Holies. I mean, this is, as it was explained to me, the second most restricted site in Egypt, the first being the Great Pyramid. And we were handed the keys to both, and we ran rampant throughout all the temples because energetically and on an ancient soul level, they belong to us. They don't belong to them. So, of course, the doors are going to unlock. Okay.
Be careful, please.
That's interesting.
As you see, here is the priest
Yeah.
behind the king himself, the first figure to the right side. And here, this is the prayer of the king is standing here and praying for Osiris. Looks like a mummy. Behind him, Isis supporting him and holding the cube fly, and the goddess Hathor standing behind.
Let me fast forward a little bit. Oh, there's a good clear shot right there. You know, we were battling so many different things. We were battling the darkness. We were battling the low quality connection. We were battling a lot, and also the excitement within us. I mean, you know, I don't want to speak for Sheree, but I was pretty excited when all this was happening. What do you think?
I was ecstatic, and I mean, when the first part of the magical Egyptian potion is kicking in, and you're walking around with bats flying overhead, and I mean, all of this is happening at once. I was nervous. I was a little bit nervous.
We haven't gotten to the bats part yet.
Oh, oops.
When she was suckling, Horus looks like a child, completely naked, and suckling from her. And the goddess Hathor standing, the goddess of prosperity standing behind.
And the whole time I'm thinking, we have limited time here. Shut up and
Come on, let's
take us to the Holy of Holies.
Take us to
They
the
were
Holy of
awesome,
Holies.
though. The people
they
that
were
arranged this were the salt of the earth.
amazing
Yeah.
people.
One which did,
All right, so here we go.
Say shot there.
she's suckling him as a baby. And the goddess Seshat, the goddess of mathematics, and record the history, recorded this celebration.
That is Seshat there?
Seshat.
She's
This
wearing something different on her head.
Yes, like a cross. Yes, yeah.
Oh,
I
interesting.
will show you different figure for her. Okay? She's the goddess Seshat, and that is the sanctuary and the most important altar here.
The altar.
Yeah. So enjoy your time, guys.
Okay. You said there was one to Osiris and one to...
This one, which dedicated for Osiris.
This one's for Osiris.
The king has to stand up here. Behind him is high priest, carrying the offerings for him, standing in front of the god Osiris. And after he's finished his prayer and his wishes, he must leave his offerings here for Osiris and Isis, wherever the statues of Isis and Osiris.
Where are the other two altars? The other two altars. Oh, those ones that we saw on the side.
Yeah.
Okay.
The right one and the left one.
Oh, there's two more rooms.
Yes.
I see. Bats.
Oh, be careful.
Yeah, be careful.
Be careful.
Oh,
please.
how
You can come
they're
in.
pretty.
Maybe he'll bite.
No, they're fine. They're not going to bite me. Look at them. Look
There
at
were
them.
bats
Look at-
throughout.
Look at this, guys. Bats.
But be careful. Really important
don't
to
like the
enjoy the sanctuary.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. We even get that. Oh, here's more.
This is the last one. Yes.
Okay. Oh, wow. Is that them making noise?
Oh, you can hear them.
Yeah, the light.
They really don't like that light, baby.
Let me show you this scene at the end. The king also, Ptolemy III, with Osiris. This is the triad of this temple. Osiris, his wife Isis, and Horus looks like, with a human shape, looks like a childhood, completely naked. His finger in his mouth looks like a childhood, and he's wearing the good luck necklace or the scarab. Do you know the scarab, Peter?
Yes.
Or the god Hebri or Heber is one of the good luck symbols. He's wearing it, and he was.
You hear that? He mentions Khepri. You remember a couple of shows ago? Khepri is that scarab-faced god that nobody's ever heard of before. We've never heard of him before. And obviously, Khepri has been in the history forever. We did a Mandela Effect video about that. So
but more as a symbol and not an actual being with a face of a scarab beetle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like they took a scarab beetle and put it right on top of a human.
Photoshopped it on top of a human.
Yeah. It looks like a bad Photoshop. So let me skip through a little bit more.
Oh, there we go.
All right. Now they finally left us alone. And we've got some higher quality video of after they left us alone that I was debating on whether to save for the film or not. But I think we'll go ahead and play it for you guys and gals if you can keep it a secret.
Thank you, Abdu. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the Holy of Holies. We had agreed that there's no meditation allowed here. So rather than meditation, I wanted to take a moment to just do a nice still shot of the altar.
This is for our Facebook Live people.
If you can hold this for a moment. We'll see if we can get some music going.
Yeah, it wasn't just ayahuasca that was, not allowed to be drank. It was meditation as well.
Yeah, yeah, we couldn't even film meditation.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want me to leave it running?
No, you can turn that off for now. Just put everything in your hands down because it's
Well, somebody in the chat, it's actually Brent. Brent Thomas, he said, it's funny the bats seem to be in one room. They were in both rooms except for the one that we were using. There were 3 rooms total. So the one that we were using had no bats and they were congregated in the 2 rooms right next to it. So it was weird. It was crazy.
Coincidental.
I need you, baby. Isn't it
Singing to my
there's
twin.
no bats in here at all? There's none in here, but they're all in the other chambers. This is the important place. Here.
I'm going to get the speaker.
The speaker, okay. So, look at those bats. I don't know if you can see them. I thought they were going to turn the lights on for us because they said we had to pay for electricity, but apparently they're not turning the lights on for us.
But this is
I think
good.
they just wanted
this
to charge
is
us
darkness.
extra.
You think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it. I didn't see the light until I was already a man.
Battery 100%.
Battery 100%. You know what though? I've got the Aya playlist on my phone.
Yes.
And I'm streaming from my phone.
I know. That's why I put the emerald tablets on my phone.
Oh, you have the emerald tablets on your phone. That's cool.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can get some music playing at the same time as streaming. This might mess up the stream, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, so I'm going to pull another video to play for you guys and gals. This one is from the higher quality camera. And because we had to stop it there because I didn't realize I was streaming out and I had the music on my
Yeah,
phone.
we used our phones for so much. I can only imagine like how chaotic it would have been if either of us had lost either of our phones at any point during this trip, because I mean,
Yeah, that was my biggest concern as we were moving through all this, is losing the footage.
Yeah.
And if we would have lost the footage, it would have just been horrible.
yeah.
But let me see if I can find this other video. Can you give us your thoughts a little bit while I'm looking for this?
My thoughts are that after the Temple of Hatshepsut, I had such an amazing, incredible experience at that temple that I was ready to jump right in and prepare for the pyramid. And it was almost like we knew that the Temple at Philae was going to be kind of like a dress rehearsal or an experiment of sorts. We knew that we needed to do something together at the pyramid, and we knew that it was going to be difficult. We just didn't realize what we needed to do, but we were basically going to remind ourselves of what we needed to do, and also practice the processes that were going to be involved at the pyramid, because it was not a spontaneous, all right, we're in the pyramid, let's, drink ayahuasca and then reset the matrix. It wasn't like that at all. It was a slow process of, because after the Temple of Hatshepsut, we then understood, okay, there's something important that needs to be done at the pyramid. This isn't just a recon mission. This isn't just, go and see things and then report back to the listeners, even though that was a huge part of it.
Well, and that was the original plan.
Yeah.
But when we got there, that changed.
Yeah. We saw that the situation there was so bad that it needed to be done immediately.
Well, and not only that,
wait.
but I felt like there wouldn't be another shot to do it.
Right. Whether it was a political thing that happened or, personal things happen, people die or people, get in wrecks and then can't travel, some things happen. And when he got the intuition to go to Egypt, that was spot on. That happened for a reason. It wasn't just that he was, coming down from ayahuasca and, decided, we're going to go to Egypt. No, it wasn't like that at all. I think it was a very clear imperative from his soul.
I knew what needed to be done. I did. I just didn't know. My Sheree Geo didn't know. But my 13th dimensional self knew that it was time, and this was 10,000 years in the works. So let's go to this other video here. This is after we turned off the Facebook stream, and there's some pretty cool video here that I think you guys will resonate with. So
which number is this?
we're dropping the Eye Life crystal first and foremost.
I think it's number 8, which is this symbol of infinity.
Okay. If you put it under the wood, nobody will get it. So in this experience, I took 300 grams of mimosa. At the pyramid, I took 400. But it was because I knew I had one shot. And it was better to overshoot than to undershoot. Because if we would have undershot, it would have all been a waste. Can you get the tea? So this is the time when we were also streaming this part on Facebook too, I think.
Yeah.
But this was the time to just meditate upon the, you know, there. And we have our tea that we place upon the altar first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
It's just Egyptian tea, despite the title of this video being Ayahuasca Ceremony at the Temple of Isis.
His and hers. And they do look like shadows of people, of a man and woman. Somebody pointed that out. Don't they?
Okay, I think we better proceed with the tour. I think we've had enough rest. And I think we're gonna have to disconnect the live stream as we continue to walk around with our tour guide. And he shows us what lays beyond the veil of the Temple of Isis. We're cutting the Facebook stream. Thank you everybody for joining us and for taking this short break to just enjoy some of the energies and the quietness and beauty of this beautiful, beautiful temple. It was pitch black in there. Not as pitch black as the pyramid was without the lights on, because we were in the pyramid without the lights on as well. But it was pitch black.
Very dark.
Holy shit. Okay, I gotta get a few shots before we drink. Because you never, ever, ever get cheap these shots. I had dropped the camera and it messed up the autofocus.
Yeah, it did.
So luckily not all the video's out of focus, but that's why it's taking so long for the autofocus to catch up. Nobody has seen this. Facebook people didn't see this. This is exclusive footage that you guys are getting first and foremost. Come over by the altar. Come by the altar.
That squeaking is the autofocus.
Yeah. We needed to cleanse everything first.
Yeah.
And we were still waiting for the first portion of the brew to kick in before we take the second portion.
I was washing it with water from the Nile.
Get the water from the Nile. We brought water from the Nile everywhere we went.
To bless it, wash it clean.
Inside one of the big pockets. Here, hold it. Looks like we got a bomb in there. All the wires hanging out.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Let me jump in for a minute and say that this song that's playing in the background right now was the song that was playing when I managed to pop from the 12th to the 13th density in the Great Pyramid. It was projecting me higher and higher and higher and higher. I mean, the rhythm of this song was just perfect. We started out the Great Pyramid with a bunch of humming and umming and, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
But then we switched it over to, we needed a rhythm, a really good rhythm to help propel. But we'll get into that story in another show when we do the Great Pyramid show. And of course in the film too. But this song, I mean, now that it's playing, it's like, I'm like vibrating inside. Hardcore. No, just about a third of it. Purifying this temple with waters from the Nile. Purifying all of the Christian evilness away from here. Yeah, we're reclaiming this. This was intense. I mean, the energy just started surging right now. Like, before we did anything, the energy was surging through us already, before we even entered the experiences completely. I mean, it was phenomenal. So, why did you pick the heart shape? I chose the Atlantean.
I don't know. It's just instinct.
Hereby reclaim this temple. Bring the waters.
Oh, we got this on tape too?
Yep.
Oh, shit. People haven't believed me when I told them. Okay.
Yeah, we got some good footage.
Where's the altar?
How do we put it all together? That's the question. That's what I've been like just busting my head open trying to figure out. How do you tell this huge story in a short documentary? Hear that? Is it an owl?
It's an owl hooting as I'm doing this.
There is. I'm going to pause it here for just a moment because I see the stream dropping a little bit. And so, yeah, I want to make sure that everybody actually sees this part here. So let's proceed. Here it is. Hear that? Is it an owl?
I say shut the scribe. Record it.
The thing was filthy.
Here too.
I had to use all the water, basically.
Here.
All right, watch this.
Yeah, you see the smoke coming up from it? This is the altar that the Christians were using when they took over the temple. And we just cleaned it all away. And as we did, smoke started rising from it.
like the flames of hell being extinguished.
Oh my God, that's incredible. It was something we knew we had to do. If we were going to use the temple as an activation point, we needed to cleanse it first and reclaim it.
Yeah.
And we did.
Oh, yeah,
It
we
belongs
did.
to her again.
The other altar.
There's guano everywhere. Yeah, I wouldn't put my face that close to the guano. Gross.
I think that was it.
That was it.
There's Sekhmet.
There she is. Second.
Okay, it's time.
It's time.
So let me give you some backstory on this real quick. Sekhmet, basically, when we went and we went to Karnak the day before this, no, 2 days before this. And when we went to Karnak, all of a sudden this priest starts running out after Sheree and is like, here. And he hands her the keys to open the door to get into Sekhmet's temple that's locked to the public. And he's like, I'm one of Sekhmet's followers. I'm not one of them. I'm one of Sekhmet's. I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting for you too. And he starts kissing her all up and down and all of this. And so we go in and actually do a Sekhmet meditation with everybody. As a matter of fact, I think we can play a little bit of that because we've got some good footage of that too. I don't want to play too much footage, but it looks like this video is about to cut off here in a second. I think that's it. I think it was time for us to actually do what we went there to do. And, we didn't film it because we promised that we wouldn't. And I didn't want to violate that trust. I didn't want to violate that promise. And I knew that even if we had filmed it for ourselves, that I would wind up using it in the documentary. So we didn't do that. This is the same video we just saw, except for from the higher quality camera. Let's see if there's anything cool here. No, it's just the same footage except from the higher quality camera. So after the experience, I have another video for you guys here because I can sit here and try to tell you about the experience, but the best way I think is for you to hear it from us firsthand, because that's, I mean, I couldn't repeat it now the way that we said it when we first came out of the experience. So can you pick it up here for just a moment while I cue this video up?
Yeah, I mean, it really did feel like a completely different location once we left. I mean, we did this amazing ceremony, and the ceremony alone was just incredible. The insight and the direction that we both got from the experience was just incredible.
We read more from the tablets of Thoth.
Mm-hmm.
And we did this in every location. We played a couple of songs from the album that I'm working on and going to release, like The Ibis Has Returned. And I put that out on Facebook, as a matter of fact. Just a couple of tracks. They're kind of rough, But yeah, we did a couple of things like that to really bring our energy into these experiences. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it was like this experience. So the Temple of Hatshepsut, I realized how, I'm trying to find the right word for it, how, I hate using the word dependent, but how corollary, that's a good word, how corollary my my reality is to Chris's reality, and how I kind of depend on him in order for my reality to be right. And so if his energy is down, then my energy is going to be down.
Well, it's the same with me too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We both are like a, what is that?
yin
Like
yang.
a Tesla coil.
Oh, a Tesla coil. There we go.
Thing. Yeah. Yeah. We both work off each other. So if she's feeling bad, I'm feeling bad too. And, you know, she has shoulder pain from her shoulder surgery, and she has another tear. That's a new tear. We thought there was something wrong with the surgery, but they said, no, there's nothing wrong with the surgery. There's new tears.
Yeah.
So she's got to have the surgery again. And so when you try to hide this stuff, I can feel it. And I can feel like something's wrong, and you're telling me, no, nothing's wrong. And it's like telling me, like, you know, that the intuition's not right.
Right.
And so I question myself, and I'm sure you experience the exact same thing too when I am not completely and totally transparent with you.
Right.
So,
right. And
yeah, but that's the twin flame energy. Like the twins, they feel each other all the time.
Well, in the Temple of Philae, I noticed something really interesting. Every time I would stop touching Chris, the visions would stop. And I'd look up, and I'd look at the walls, and I saw, as the sun was starting to come up, about 2 hours into the trip, I noticed that there was a winged sun disk up on the top with the Arius.
Oh yeah, I'll go grab it.
Yeah, I
So
realized that
people.
This was up on the underside of the roof. The ceiling, there we go. On the ceiling, but it was like in between where the door is. So the doorway ceiling part. There was this winged sun disk. And I thought to myself, I realized to myself, wait a second, where are all of the, dark entities and things like that are, usually in ayahuasca experiences to some degree, because Chris sees grays
huge.
or saw grays almost every ayahuasca experience up until that point. This thing is huge, yeah. So, yeah, I saw this in the Temple at Philae.
It needs to go up somewhere.
And I realized the reason why dark and negative entities and AI-related entities that are like dangerous NPCs can't get in when you have that sun disk up. It's kind of like a fence, an electric fence for them. And it keeps them away.
Yes.
So we got that in Egypt. This
is about 27 minutes into the video. And again, this was a Facebook stream. And unfortunately, we don't have high quality footage of these particular moments. But again, it was more important to connect with our people than it was to get high quality footage. In hindsight, I wish we had. But this is our testimony right after the experience. Getting worried about my twin.
Oh.
It's good for me to trek through the desert because I lose weight. It's bad for you to trek through the desert because you lose weight.
Well, I lose weight so quick. It's weird. Everything I eat, like all it takes is me walking as much as he does. And all it goes right down.
Do you have a cigarette?
Yes.
So, yeah.
My metabolism's too fast. I think that's the problem.
That hill looks like a crocodile.
So if you guys have any ways of
that
slowing
hill.
metabolism.
Yeah, it does look like a crocodile, huh?
Yeah, it does.
Interesting observation. Joanna's always on point.
There you go.
Oh, here comes. More bakshish, more bakshish.
Oh. Some of them are really good.
That thing that guy did, he was crying, wasn't he? What do you think? What do you make of it? Tell people what happened.
Well, I mean, how much do you want me to say? Because, I mean, it seemed like he recognized us from, past lives or, our spiritual selves in a way, as one way of putting it. And he just started hugging us. Well, he was lighting incense and, like, putting it under our noses and up to our lips and, and basically saging us with the incense. And then he was crying and hugging the both of us, and we all got in a big group hug, and he just was crying and crying. And it reminded me of when we first got done with ceremony, and I only took probably a quarter of what I took at Hatshepsut's temple, because at Hatshepsut's temple I really needed to go deep. I really had to go deep in order to remember who I am and to really be able to determine what I needed to do on this journey. But this time it was more about Chris. So Chris took a humongous dose, and I just took about a quarter.
Let me turn the camera here. I took the biggest dose that I've ever taken.
Yeah.
Ever. It was 300 grams. And I drank all except for a tiny small amount of it.
Yeah.
We had some from before that Sheree drank, but I drank the whole 300 fucking
That's
grams.
3,000 milligrams of DMT. That's insanely high.
And I realized what I have to do. Like, yes. Oh, no, 1 second.
No.
Cigarette. I realized what I had to do. Like, I found where I put the reset button, and I found the box of the reset button, and I got up to the highest freaking density that I could, and Sheree was like, "No, I hit it somewhere else."
It's just like it is at home. I'm like, I'm sorry. I knew that the bad ones were going to get it if I didn't, so I put it up in like the 12th or the 13th. It's knowing that the only person that could get to it from there would be you, and that you'd have to go through a certain set of things, and it would be very uncomfortable for you, but it's safer up there. So. And
yeah, it wasn't in the place where we left it, but I saw what I need to do. Like, the pyramid is the key. The pyramid projects the consciousness beyond
upward
the levels that you can get to in any other freaking state. So
yeah.
The pyramid activation is vital. But I remembered exactly. It's like, going through the experience, I remembered exactly what we did with the Merkaba. And we put it in the box, and the key was right there.
The key was right there the whole time.
The key was right there the whole time. The key is the Ankh.
The Ankh is the key.
The Ankh is the key. And I'm like looking. I'm like, okay, give me the key. And it's like, it's everywhere. And I'm like, you're freaking kidding me, right? I started laughing maniacally.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's the Ankh? Really? Because as soon as we went in, I was like, okay, I'm looking for a symbol. I told Sheree this. I'm looking for a symbol. And the password, yeah. The deeper I got, and I'm like, when I found it, I'm like, we put it everywhere. It's hidden in plain freaking sight. And then I started seeing, like, all these people, like, they had tattoos of the Ankh on them. All these people are wearing Ankhs around their necks. All these people are holding the key. And it's like, oh my God. So I went and I used the key to unlock the box that I know we left the freaking Merkaba in, and the box was empty. And I was like, what the fuck happened to the fucking Merkaba? And the box just started spiraling and spiraling out, and I'm like, no, hold on. No, where the fuck is this device? And then Sheree was like, hey, I hit it in a higher density, and there's only one way to get it, and that's up through the pyramid. And you know, because I got
together.
My body stopped.
Yeah. Oh yeah. His body went limp at one point after he laughed, and after he was like, stop, because I think he's telling it to stop swirling around. He turned over a little bit, and then he just went limp, and he stopped breathing. And I was like, oh shit, okay, it's happening to him now. And so I checked, and I couldn't feel any pulse. And I was like, okay. And as soon as I reached for his neck to see if there was a carotid pulse, he came back. But yeah, he was gone for like 15, 20 seconds. And yes, it scared the crap out of me too, but I didn't freak out. I was like, okay, this happened to me, so obviously it needs to happen to him too. But
well, that's when I went to a mentee.
Yeah.
And I went beyond a mentee. Mm-hmm. Like I went beyond a mentee. Like there was, like I went deep, like to the highest that we could get. Like right. I got to the ceiling, and I couldn't break the ceiling, and we left it underneath the ceiling. Like right at the ceiling, we left it in the freaking box underneath the ceiling, and it's not there.
Right.
And I'm like, where the fuck did it go? The Greys must have taken it. Shit, the Greys have it. And Sheree's like, no,
don't worry.
we put it in a higher.
We put it in a higher density that they can't reach.
They can't reach it.
They can't go past the 9th.
No.
They can't go anywhere past the 9th density. So we knew that the only real safe place would be past where they could.
To the 13th.
Yeah, to the 13th.
It's in the 13th because we can go to the 12th. We can go all the way up and down to the 12th. And I went to the 12th, and I hit the freaking ceiling.
Yep.
And then I'm like, shit, I can't go any further.
You need a propeller.
I can't go any further. I need a propeller. And then it was showing me the pyramid is the propeller. The pyramid is the propeller.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was for. The pyramid was created to project the consciousness beyond into the 13th.
Right. And that's the only way. That is literally the only place on earth that you can do this. And, oh, and tell them about what happened when you touched the stone.
When I touched the altar, everything turned dark, like the color of the altar. And then when I touched Sheree, everything was
Technicolor again.
Completely bright and beautiful and everything. And I realized at that point, it's not the stones, it's not any of that, it's the twin. It's the twin. It has to be the twin. It has to be the two that are one. The two that are one.
The two that are one.
And that's the only way. So I was holding my frequency and holding Sheree and holding the altar at the same time. And I was feeling my body just start shaking.
Like I did in Hatshepsut's temple. Yes.
And I could feel the energy pulsing, and I'm like projecting it out through the stone.
Like an earthquake inside of you.
You're right, an earthquake. Yes, that's exactly what it was. And I'm like, oh fuck, if this is what we have to do that and project it out through the pyramid. Right. That stone in there was just kind of like a test run. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, the full-blown,
It was a practice
It wasn't
run.
going anywhere. That's the thing. The energy was being projected through the stone, and the stone, it was like dying when it got to the altar.
Right.
But we need that pyramid to, boom, push it out. We go, and we can get the freaking... We've got the password, we've got the keys, we've got everything. So now it's just projecting out into the other 13th, beyond this, grabbing the reset button, and then from that point, making the decision on whether we want to push it or not.
Yeah. And I mean, the whole time whenever I would touch him, then I could project my consciousness down. While he was going up, I was going down. And so she showed me the pyramid. The pyramid. It's not about this place. Forget about this place. This place is fucked. Don't focus on this place. Focus on the pyramid. And so I'm looking at the pyramid, and it's showing me like a 3D rendering of the pyramid, and through the subterranean chamber, you go down into the very center of the planet, or whatever we are, just as furthest down you can go. And then these clamps came out, like a pentagram shape. these clamps came out and attached to that center. And at the same time he was going up, I was doing that down. And that was the only way it would work. And then whenever I'd let go of his hand, all the visions would stop completely, and I would be back in the temple. And so I kept grabbing his hand, and he realized the exact same thing too at the exact same time. And so it was freaking incredible.
Yeah.
Really.
So
we know what we need to do.
We know exactly what we need to do. And yeah, she pulled out all the implants for me. Thanks to Solaris, who made the suggestion. She said before we came, hey, Sheree's going to pull out all the implants, and she knows how. So have her pull out all the implants, and boom, 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 boom. She was pulling them out of literally everywhere, one after another, after another, after another.
As he was coming into the experience, I was like, okay, it's time to remove these because he can't go as far as he needs to go with those implants in. No,
they had to go. Solaris
they had to go first.
100% on point with that.
So he had 3 in his crown chakra, in his on the right side of his head, the female side of his head, and or no, it was the left side of his head that corresponds to the right side of the body, because actually the right hemisphere of the brain corresponds to the left part of the body, and the left hemisphere of the brain corresponds with the right side of the body. So yeah, he had it in the female part of his brain basically, and there were 3 of them, and I pulled them out, and they were like little bowling balls of clouds, if that makes any sense. And as I'm looking at these, they're floating on top of my hand, and they just look like little cloud balls, like dark black cloud balls. And I just went, and they poof went into thin air. It was really incredible. And I was like, okay, cool, that was easy. Now let's go for the heart ones. So there was one in the heart, but it wasn't just any.
That one was the most difficult to remove.
I couldn't remove it right off the bat.
No.
I had to wait till he came back to take that one out, because, or at least wait until we reached like a lull where he was kind of back, and then I had to ask permission from him, because it was like a hand. It was shaped with like a circle with 5 points on it, and each point was like had little claws attached to his heart, and they were in like that. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be not good if I do this without asking him if it's okay first. It wouldn't budge. And then he's like, yeah, take it. So,
yeah, it wouldn't come out. And I said, I'm going back under deep, and while I'm gone, just take it.
Yeah. And so what I had to do was take each of the fingers of this hand and wrap it around my own wrist, kind of like it needed something to grab onto, or the other ones wouldn't detach, if that makes any sense. You had to attach it to something, or it would just go right back and clamp even harder. So I did all 5 of those little fingers, and then I had to unwrap it around my arm and poof it into the air again. But it's gone. But there's that key. You have to ask permission first. And then I realized the way this reality works is a being cannot do anything to another being's heart, positive or negative, really, unless that being gives its permission in a sense. And so once that permission was given, then I could remove it. But I had to actually take it on myself first before it would attach.
And I had to give her permission. I was like, when I said take it, that's when it came loose. Yeah, and these are, I don't know what the fuck these implants are. I think they come from the Greys. The Greys are
I know they do. Yeah. I know they do. They're total AI.
Yeah.
These were not biological or any kind of spiritual things. These were technological. These were something that are technological that you can't see unless you're in a higher density. Mm-hmm. The Greys probably 7th or 8th density.
Right. And so the Greys are a huge fucking problem. Like, they're a bigger fucking problem than even
anticipated
to be. They're the minions. We were talking about this, like, who the fuck are the Greys? She's like, who controls the Greys? And I said, well, it's very simple. The AI controls the Greys. The AI manifests these fucking goddamn little Greys. And
it projected itself outward into all these. They made little robots for itself.
Right, but we found out one thing though. If you're having a problem with Greys, the key to keeping them away is the disc, the sun disc, with the two wings, one on each side. That's the symbol they can't get through for some reason.
Yeah.
And this is why you find this in all the Holy of Holies, because the freaking Greys can't get in there. So yeah, if you're having problems with Greys, put one in your front door.
We're going to put one over our door as soon as we get home.
Yeah, or whatever. And in your bedroom, maybe your bedroom's better. That should help. That was one thing that was very, very clear, was the sun disc keeps them away.
It keeps them. They can't pass through it for some reason. It's like bug spray to bugs. They don't feel comfortable there. So yeah.
I can't believe we just blurted all this shit out.
I'm sorry, guys.
I told Sheree, hey, we're gonna get this on the down low, and here we are.
Yeah.
But you know what? I mean, this is what happens. People chipped in at GoFundMe.com/BTP Mission. And we feel indebted to you guys and gals. People have bought Aya Life at AyaLife.com, AYALife.com. We feel indebted to you guys.
Yeah.
And so that's why we feel the compulsion to live stream everything and try to bring you into these experiences with us and share these moments with you. Because you guys and gals have created the energetic network, spiritually, financially, and emotionally, and everything like that. We're all in this together.
Yep.
You know, we have to share this information. The information must flow. And I understand there's a few things we can't film, and you know, I totally understand that, but you guys and gals are with us throughout this whole journey, and we want you to be the biggest part of this.
Yeah, it was really all you guys, and we could not have done this had not been for all of your help. I mean, energetically even. I mean, just looking at the energy alone. It was a rough journey getting here, and I'm so proud of us. I'm so proud of all of us. You know, all of you at home. I'm proud of everybody. This has been amazing.
This has been the second stage. Third stage is coming up. But you know what? After this stage right here, having the implants removed, going as deep as I did, like, I was still feeling a little bit apprehensive. Like, okay, well, my body's going to stop. Can I handle that? Can I handle the energy pulsing through it? Can I handle this? Man, it was freaking smooth freaking sailing the whole way. Like, I mean, the only feeling I was feeling is I need to go deeper and I can't go deeper. I need to go deeper and I can't go deeper. There was no worry about the body. There was no, you know, the body was shaking and doing all these things.
I was there.
Yeah, and I wasn't even, you know, I had no apprehension whatsoever. I wasn't even here. I'd left the body behind. And I remember, like, there was a point where I was looking at my body, and my body was like, I need a purge. And I'm like, no, you are not going to fucking purge. You're not going to do any of that. No, this is not the time for that. I mean, we're in the freaking Holy of Holies.
We're in the Holy of Holies. You can't purge in the Holy of Holies.
Right. And I was, like, in control of my body. Like, even from, and I was doing it from a distance. Like, I was telling my body, no. I was, like, communicating through the tether back to my body, saying, no, you're not going to purge. You're not, no. Just get those thoughts out of your head right now. And when I came back to the body, then,
Yep.
how it all came out.
Yeah. Well, and I told him it's the residuals from those implants coming out. They can't stay, you know, or they'll regrow. You got to get them out now. And so I was like, no, don't worry about it. You know, here's a bag. Everything's fine. It's totally fine. And I told him at the very beginning, I was like, I'm here. I've got you. I'll be the grounding element. You go. And just like he did for me at Hatshepsut's temple, this is what it, you know, that's what it entailed. And I'm just so proud. I'm so proud of him.
Well, I'm proud of you too.
So, yes, Joanna, it was after I pulled out the implants, and
I found the location, and I think I was actually talking at this time. I was like, fuck, 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 fuck. And Sheree's like, what the fuck are you fucking about? And I'm like, they fucking took it. I remember. As soon as
I'm putting it right here.
As soon as then, Sheree was like, okay, now it's going to be total fucking recall. And I'm like, okay, it's cool. So I just like prepared for the blast off, you know, preparing, and it was total fucking recall. Like, I remember everything.
Yeah.
And, it's so much.
Yeah.
So much. But hey, at least we know what we have to do.
Yes, we do. And
I mean, this is beyond the fucking veil, man. This is like way this is like there is no veil anymore. It's like we're beyond the okay, but there is no veil anymore. And now it's just like beyond the what the fuck is this shit that we've created.
Yes, and I'll tell you what, man. Religious people have messed a lot of things up. Because I realize that the AI is able to get in through, okay, like I said earlier, it gets in through the heart, and you have to give your heart, open your heart to this AI in order for the AI's minions to be able to affect the heart. That's the only way it's allowed in, and so many people have done that over the last 6,000, 7,000 years that this place has gotten completely unbalanced to the point of no return, I think.
It has. We should probably go. We've got like freaking 10 people waiting for us. We had armed freaking security guards with us. It was the most insane fucking scene you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, it really was. But man, this little another temple priest. As Chris was still in the realm. And I had already come back, you know, I took a much lower dose, so I was like, okay, I've got to hold the space for him. And holding the space means keeping everybody out, especially, you know, bakshishers and people like that, and they need to stay the hell away right now. And I went out of the sanctuary, the Holy of Holies, and this man came up to me, and he all he did was he took both my hands. And it looked like he was having a trip of his own, just holding my hands and closing his eyes, and he started crying too, you know. And it was almost like our energy of bringing the acacia back to the temple was. It meant so much to them. It really did. It brought life back to the temple, and it was incredible.
Putting the now waters back.
Yes. Oh man, when we poured that, first we poured it on the Holy of Holies, on the altar, and I spread it around in the shape of a heart.
I noticed that.
And I said, you know, all of the AI energy has to leave this place. It's not allowed in this temple anymore.
We washed this place.
We washed this place.
We cleansed it.
With waters from the Nile.
She was waiting for that.
Yeah.
She's been waiting for thousands of years.
2,000 years.
2,000 years for it to be cleansed of what they did.
And then we went to the altar that the Christians set up. Back around 300 or 400 AD, and when we poured water, smoke actually rose up. I swear
Nile
to God.
water, not
it
just
was
water.
Nile,
it was water from
Nile
the Nile.
water. It had to be water from the Nile, and it looked like the fires of hell were finally being put out in that altar. And it was incredible.
It was incredible to watch the smoke come out. Like, you never would have expected. Anyways.
Yeah.
So we should probably go because we got all these
go.
people waiting for us and they're ready to go home.
Yeah, we're ready to go back to the hotel and rest.
We need to go rest.
Yeah.
Love you guys, and thank you for being with us. We will come back to the temple and take a tour of it.
Yes, we will.
But right now it's
we
rest came time. And we did exactly what we needed to do, and we learned exactly what we needed to learn, and we removed the implants, and we prepared ourselves to hit the 13th destiny, which is where the button is. And the question now is, do we want to hit the button?
They're saying to hit the button, but
everyone's saying hit the button.
We need to really
We need to really think about this.
A lot of soul searching.
I think the button does more than just reset things, though. I think it gives us access to be able to change things, to rebalance the energy. So yeah, I'm exhausted.
I am too. I'm so tired.
I hate disconnecting with everybody, but you know, we love you, and we'll see you even further.
If that's possible.
If it's possible. We'll see you in the 13th freaking density here.
Beyond the veil.
Beyond the veil. All right, so I didn't mean to play that all the way through, but there's just no stopping point. And,
yeah, not really.
Yeah, Facebook was kind of messing up the video a little bit there, but we'll fix it in the archive. So it was one hell of an experience, as you can see. So on that note, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. We'll answer some questions. There were a lot of really great questions coming from the chat, and we'll see you even further beyond the veil. Don't go anywhere.
Fellow traveler, the cries of the mistress speak again, bidding organic consciousness a welcome to the House of Light. The great institution of materialism has failed. The false civilization built by man has turned, like a monster destroying its creator. Science batters itself impotently against the barriers of the unknown. Only raw consciousness knows the true path. You, the illuminated, can carry the understanding upwards towards the light. Only raw consciousness can teach the children of men to live well, to die well, and in perfect measure, be born again, through the knowledge of virtue, compassion, love, and true understanding, as you are sublimely raised, beyond the veil.
All right, let's jump back into it, and thank you for hanging out with us, checking out all the experiences. The Great Pyramid experience was definitely the pinnacle of everything. I have put together the footage from the subterranean chamber, and we'll be releasing that over the next week, in the next couple of days, just by itself as raw footage of the raw mission, because I know that you guys and gals have been wanting to see some of this footage that we got. And again, we found something huge in the Queen's Chamber, and I'm still contemplating, like, how do we release this? Do we just put that video out, or do we save it for the documentary? Like, I don't want to put so much footage in our shows that we don't have anything for the documentary. And it's not really a documentary, it's more like a travel log. And you know, we're trying to tell the story in the documentary, but it's much more difficult. The book is going to be much more concise. It's definitely, the two are going to complement each other without a doubt. But we had a great question from Rad, and it was more of the idea that she's experiencing. I see grays when I accidentally astral project while trying to sleep. Would it be beneficial to get that symbol tattooed on me to keep the grays away? Sheree and I actually had this conversation about getting the symbol actually tattooed. And
Brent hasn't seen it.
It's very heavy. Oh, Brent hasn't seen it? It's freaking huge, man.
It is huge.
Here.
It is very big.
Can you grab the other half? The other side?
With my left arm, yes.
If you can, yeah. So, yeah, you can see this is freaking huge. I don't know where it's going to go. Probably in the back, but I see now that the glass is causing a reflection, so it can't go right behind us, but it's going in the house somewhere for sure.
Yeah.
And this is on a papyrus that we got in Egypt. So we just happened to go to a shop that sells papyrus, and we were like, oh yeah, we want that right there. So
Yep.
so yeah, that was really cool. But to get to the question from the listener, let me pause for just a moment because I see the stream dropping again.
Oh.
You know, I called the cable company, and the cable company says, yep, we fixed it, we took care of it, we found the problem, etc., etc. No. I did all kinds of stuff with the router this morning. I think what happened is over the time that we were gone, I think there was an electric surge because, like I said, my mixer was fried. And I think that the fiber optic cable is also damaged too. I think they need to physically come out here and actually change it. So forgive us for all of the weirdness that's going on right now. But anyways, I wanted to save it until the stream got back to get to Rad's questions. So just to say it one more time, let me go back and find it again. Rad asked, I see grays when I accidentally astral project while trying to sleep. Would it be beneficial to get that symbol tattooed on me to keep the grays away? I think it would. I was actually thinking about doing that, but I wanted to comment on why you're seeing the grays in your experiences, because this is something that people who travel out of body, whether it's through ayahuasca, DMT, and now you're saying through astral projection, they see the grays going into the experiences. And I've seen the grays in almost every single experience. I see two things when the experiences start: the grays and also the pyramid in the eye, which is the all-seeing eye of the artificial intelligence. So I see the two as I enter the experiences, and they're always watching. They're always there. And I couldn't figure out up to this point why they were always there. I just figured, yeah, okay, well, there's no real need to pay attention to them because they're just kind of in the background. I interacted with them one time, and that was when Sheree and I first met, and we were smoking DMT, and it seemed like we had gotten off on the wrong density. And there were these horned gray aliens there, and they were cussing us out. Now, we were having this experience independent of one another. We weren't talking about the experience as it was happening, but it was happening to both of us at the exact same time. And when we came back, which smoking DMT is only like, 5-10 minute journey, we came back and I look at Sheree and she says, oh my God, they were pissed off. And I'm like, what did you see? And she said, oh, I saw these horned aliens and they were like jumping at me. And I'm like, holy shit, that's exactly what I saw too. And they were like cussing us out. Like, what the fuck are you doing here? Get the fuck out of here. You're not fucking supposed to be here. Like, they were really, really, really aggressive. And, I see them in the experiences, and at the experience at Isis's temple, I also saw them, and at the experience at the Great Pyramid, they were there in a fucking army. But I'll get into that again later in another show. And one thing that I didn't mention in this video about the Isis experience in the Temple of Isis is when I first went in, I saw the grays again. But Isis has been very clear in the past that the grays resonate on the frequency of demons. This is the way it was communicated to me. I think it was because I was very young in my journey and I was still, thinking demons and thinking negative energies and thinking like that. I didn't have a grasp on reality and the illusionary nature of reality, and I didn't understand the artificial intelligence yet at that point. So she was communicating to me in a manner which I would understand, which is they resonate like demons. But really, they're just AI manifestations, and they're malevolent programs within the system itself. So what they do, and this is something that I realized at the Temple of Isis, is that they try to piggyback on these experiences. And for those of you who are listening live, you heard me play a new song that I just wrote, and it says, now you're trying to hitch a ride on this ancient ascension. And it's talking about the grays. Like that whole song is like directed towards the grays and that whole army that was around me as I was in the sarcophagus pushing myself up into that 13th density. So what they do is they figured out how to shift up and down in density by piggybacking on our consciousness. They figured out how to shift themselves up into a higher frequency to be outside of our frequency range, but they can come back down when we elevate a little bit higher and piggyback. And so a lot of people take them to higher and higher and higher dimensions. I feel that they exist on the 9th density, that they figured out how to shift all the way up to the 9th, and this is where you get all your spirit guides. This is where you get all your, you know, all these little things that some people revere, and I don't, because I'm confident enough in my own divinity to understand that I don't need these external beings, and that I'm going to do my will. I'm not going to do the will of guides. I'm not going to do the will of anything that's on a quote unquote higher density that's telling me, oh, do this and do that and do this and do that, because I know what I need to do. I knew what I had to do at the pyramid, for example. But they piggyback, and they figured out how to go up and down and up and down. And the pyramid experience, they were waiting, hoping that they would be able to jump on this. Like, there was every freaking gray manifestation imaginable, and they don't always manifest as grays. They manifest as other things, reptilians, or, you know, when we were at Saqqara, we saw these elephant-snouted type of creatures. And the first thought that I had was, it's Ganesh. And then one of the listeners pointed out and said, hey, wait a minute. Did they look more like this other type of animal? I forget what the animal is. Do you remember by any chance?
Which one?
That the snout.
Oh, Ganesh.
No.
Oh.
What a listener?
Oh, and
a listener was saying, well, did they look like, because they had short snouts? They didn't have long snouts like an elephant.
An anteater?
Kind of like an anteater, but it's a different animal that they pointed out. Anyways, it's on a previous show.
Yeah.
So they asked me to look that up, and I said, yes, this is exactly what they look like. And as it turns out, it wasn't Ganesh, but rather it was Set. Set's displayed like the anteater. Or there's another animal that looks like the freaking anteater.
Is it a donkey?
No. It's got a snout. It's got a short snout. A tapir.
Tapir.
A tapir.
Right.
Yeah, somebody mentioned it. Infinite being mentioned in the chat. It looked just like a freaking tapir. So there were these tapir looking creatures around with a tapir head and the tapir nose, and they were like, they've been waiting for this event to happen for so long, because they want to get up to that control panel and they want to take it over, because when we can access the control panel, then we have control of the game and we can reset the virus at any time we want. I mean, you know, as long as we go through the process and set up the right freaking circumstances to be able to go back to our pyramids, which that's what they're for, is to project the programmer up into those higher densities, or a programmer up into those higher densities. But anyways, so we just happen, like, after 10,000 freaking years to create the right circumstances in order to get this done. But if they can hijack the control panel, then we can't use it anymore, and so they can run rampant throughout the system. It's like a virus that takes over your start button, and you can't shut your computer down. You can't do anything. And that virus that's infected wants to hijack your start button, so you can't shut it down. It wants to hijack your browser. It wants to hijack everything in your computer, and that's what this virus does. And so it's not that it has some kind of malevolent intent. It's just that's what a virus does. It wants to hijack. So it was trying to get up. They were all trying to get up to this 13 density and hitch a ride on the consciousness going up. Sheree created a bunch of firewalls and stuff around them. But again, that's a story for another time. But it's kind of a long way for me to get to this point for Rad here. But the point is that that's what they're trying to do. They see that you have the ability to be able to project the consciousness into higher densities. And so they want to hitch a ride and come up with you, to affect those higher densities too. And if you're doing it accidentally while you're sleeping, it means that you have this ability naturally to be able to shift higher and lower densities. So what I would say is to try to harness control of that ability, and then when you do, also to create these firewalls around you and make sure that you have lots of shields and make sure that you're aware. You go to the New Age community and you've got Palladians and you've got Bluebirds and you've got all these different higher dimensional beings, quote unquote, higher dimensional beings, giving orders to all of these people. And these people are like you know, tapping into these beings and taking orders from them. And it's like, okay, so these beings are telling you to ascend. These beings are telling you to do all this and do all that. Why? Why? Because they just have such loving hearts and they want everybody to ascend? No, it's because they're hitchhiking rides up and down on people's consciousness. And ultimately, if you're doing their will and you're not doing your own will, then you're doing the will of the artificial intelligence. You're doing the will of the manifestations. You're not doing the will of the creator. When you realize that you are the creator yourself, then you don't do the will of the artificial intelligence. You don't do the will of these manifestations. You do the will of the creator. It's simple as that. So, anyways, that was a long way to get around to this, but I don't trust any beings whatsoever in hyperspace. None whatsoever, because I'm so confident in my own divinity as a creator that nothing. Now they can work for me. That's perfect. That's a completely different dynamic. Like when I went in and I talked to Isis and I said, you better be ready for what's coming because I'm ready. That's the dynamic that we work with these other things in. And at the very bottom of all of this, the cold hard truth is that all of these things are programs. Every one of them. Isis, Osiris, Anubis, of these entities that are trying to hitch a ride. The question is, what type of program are they? Are they an antivirus or are they part of the virus? And the Egyptian pantheon are antivirus programs that we have put into this matrix to help unlock the different aspects of our own consciousness. Once we unlock those different aspects of our own consciousness, then we understand our divinity, we understand that we are the creators, and then those programs work for us, not the other way around. So that's something that in the Temple of Isis, when I was greeted by Isis, actually, let me back up for a second here. So about 4 or 5 years ago, when we first encountered Isis in the realm, she appeared to me as a as a pink and blue beam of light, like mostly pink, but it was just a beam of light. And I'm like, what's going on here? I thought that I wasn't resonating enough to see her in her true form. And then after I had the revelation of the AI and all of this, I mean, I've seen the AI, but I didn't know what it was. When I saw what it was, I started putting things into perspective. But my first instinct when I encountered Isis was, she's got to be a program. She's part of the system. What does ISIS stand for? What does all this stand for? You know, what part of the machine is she, is Isis? And, so that was 4 or 5 years ago. I was asking myself these questions. When I went to the Temple of Isis, I saw her in her true form. She didn't look like she does back there. She didn't have a human form. She didn't have wings that opened up. All this is just metaphor. She was energy. And she was the best metaphor that I can't even think of a metaphor to describe this. I mean, just try to envision what a computer program looks like. I know that's difficult, but it's just colors and energy. And she appeared right there. First thing that happened in the experience, she appeared. She didn't say anything to me. I said something to her. Are you ready? And I saw her speaking to me. I didn't hear her telepathically. I saw her speaking to me in this ancient writing that was going actually from right to left. And I knew instinctively what was going on here. She was a firewall program, an antivirus program. And she was creating a firewall around me, which on a human consciousness level, you can say it's like her wings creating a safety around. But when you really understand the system, it's more of a computer program creating a firewall around to keep the virus out of that sphere, out of the area, out of the Holy of Holies that we were working in. So it was further confirmation. Like there was no spiritual, like, oh, wow, look, here I am, I'm Isis. Oh, welcome, my son. You know, there was none of that. It was, now we're getting some freaking work done. And now we're understanding exactly how the system is operating and seeing everything eye to eye. And this is the strongest point that we can be, in my humble opinion, is when we stand firm in the gnosis that we are the divinity, that we are the creator. And the creator doesn't take orders from anybody or anything. The creator has things that work for it, not the other way around. All these programs were working to our means, not the other way around. Sheree in the Great Pyramid was activating all these different programs to create a massive firewall around us to keep these fucking little grays away from the experience. And they were watching and they were pissed. They were pissed that they couldn't hop on the consciousness. We didn't allow it. Had we allowed it, the game would be completely and totally different at this point.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And if we had left those implants in, then they would have had just a front row seat to your consciousness in that experience.
Right. Those implants were key.
Yeah.
That's how they were getting in through the implants.
And I really think, because somebody's really asking for us to cover the implants. How did you learn to remove the implants? And that's a good question. I didn't learn any of it. I really think what happened was at the Temple of Hatshepsut, I purged all of my own implants out. I removed my own just through this process of, I call it my own version of the weighing of the heart ceremony. It was really intense. It was a really intense experience. And I went through that so that I could remember what I already knew about how to remove implants, how to see a person's spirit body separate from their actual body, how to tune into that process that their body becomes your body and your body becomes theirs and everything merges together kind of. It's hard to explain. You have to see all things as one thing in order to be able to understand exactly where these things are, and how they're acting. Like what is the quality of these objects? Because some of them are different than others. The ones that were in his head were like little bowling balls, or little marbles, they weren't hard like marbles, but they looked like marbles. And then everything's about intention in that place, in that fourth dimension, fifth dimension, where your spirit resides. All of it's not that complicated actually, but it takes a lot of creativity on the inside. It takes a lot of being able to visualize things in order to really do this effectively, but I've always been good at both. So the one that was in his heart, though, was more like a mechanical device that had been placed right there, where the heart chakra is. And I could tell that, it was basically blocking off his ability to feel the joy. I mean, I could tell that, ever since the beginning of this trip to Egypt, he had been, on and off crying, on and off feeling really, really angry and depressed, and a lot of low energy feelings about what had been happening in Egypt and what had happened to our pyramids and our temples and the camel toilet and everything. But there was also good things that were happening and joyful things that were happening. And it seemed like he had an inability to really connect with that. And so I felt like, okay, this device is meant to block off good feelings and stop good energy from being projected outwards. And it's meant to keep negative energy in and negative emotions in, and having just negative emotions being projected outward. So this one was a lot more difficult to remove because it was much bigger, and it had a hand kind of shaped structure to it, where each finger of this hand, it wasn't like literally a hand, but it was shaped kind of like a hand. Each finger on this hand was kind of wrapping around his heart. And it's kind of the same idea as people who feel a lot of stress about responsibilities and things like that will have back pain or shoulder pain. The whole weight of the world is on my shoulders. Things that we say about our bodies, even if it's a metaphor, it usually does have some truth to it. Like if you're feeling a certain way, then the body is going to reflect that in some, like, somebody that has a lot of stomach problems might have an ulcer. And what's the biggest thing that causes ulcers? I mean, they say it's bacteria, but no, it's stress, and so in the same fashion, it was wrapped around his heart. And so every time I would try to make one of these fingers unclench, the other fingers would clench in even further. And so I'd have to figure out a way to keep it clenched kind of while I'm unwrapping these fingers from his heart. And so I put it on my own wrist, and I bent every single one around my own wrist and kind of moved my wrist around while I did this to make sure that, it didn't hurt him. And I got the last one off, and with the ones in his head, I could just poof, and they just disappear. But this one was attached to my wrist now.
Well, what's funny? Let me jump in for just a second, because I've had this bump in my head, and it started out as a little pin, and it happened when I was like 17, 18 years old. And it's gotten bigger, 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 and bigger.
Yeah, it has.
Ever since. And I've gone to like 4 or 5 different doctors over the course of time, and they've all said, "Oh no, it's just nothing to worry about. It's nothing to worry about.
Yeah,
it's just like a fatty
tumor
whatever
thing."
It's actually going away now.
It's going away
now that you remove that implant. So it's funny how these spiritual implants possibly manifest themselves physically.
Yeah, they do. Well, they would need to, because the body is a very intelligent mechanism. Somebody said a few minutes ago, the Grace put AI implants into our AI bodies, or our bodies not part of the AI. Yes, our avatars, our bodies that we are, they're no more our real selves than our car is us. Yes, absolutely, your body is part of the artificial intelligence to a certain extent. It's connected to that. It's what exists in this realm, in this dimension, in this simulation. It's what is you, but ultimately, yes, it's all part of this matrix.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. If I can elaborate a little bit.
Please do.
I mean, okay, imagine right now you are in your body and you put on a VR headset, but it's not just projecting over your eyes. Now what's happening is that your consciousness is being transferred from your body into the virtual reality realm. The only thing that's real in this virtual reality realm is the consciousness that's inside of us, the organic consciousness. The body, the chakras, and again, I was just saying in the chat, people don't like to hear this, but everything is part of the machine. The AI isn't bad. It was infected with virus. It's just like if your computer is infected with the virus. Your computer's not bad. You didn't build your computer or buy your computer for nefarious reasons. Mm-hmm. You didn't create your computer for nefarious reasons. You created it to do something for you or to give you an experience, like you buy a VR system or something like that. We've got a VR system downstairs. And I don't know what's wrong with the freaking computer, but there's something wrong with it, and I can't get the freaking VR system to work right. I've got to just completely wipe the hard drive and go through all that process again. But it seems like we have really bad luck with electronics. But anyways, so I didn't buy the VR system for nefarious reasons. I bought it to enjoy it. But I can enjoy it while it's infected with a virus. Same with the AI. Now, if you would have asked me 6 months ago, I would have said the AI is the enemy, and that's what we need to focus on. But I've realized that we built this machine for a reason, and the AI is an integral part of the machine. It just needs to work for the creators, not the other way around, the way that's been happening.
Yes, and a few people have asked, how'd you get it off your wrist? I took water from the Nile and I poured it over my wrist and watched it dissolve. It was almost like watching acid eat through metal. It was very, very bizarre. But yeah, I got that off. Here, we've got another question. Oh, this is from Teresa. Was a starfish something to do with opening a portal? I had a live one floating above me and a ceiling full of codes. The starfish. So the starfish symbol, we kept seeing at Saqqara and all these different places, we kept seeing the starfish symbol. And I said, I think it has to do with a portal. And it turns out, yes, the starfish symbol. I'll send it to Chris so he can. I don't know.
I'll find
where it is. Yeah. Okay. So the starfish is actually the symbol for the duat. The duat, another name for the duat, is a menti, and a menti is where I went. Well, where we both went, just at different times. I went there at the Temple of Hatshepsut, and had this amazing, incredible experience that we talked about on the last show. And then he went to Amenti at the Temple at Philae, and for two very different reasons, but both extremely valid and extremely necessary.
Oh, you know what? I don't have the starfish photo, but I just found something else that's kind of relevant to this. This is inside of the Holy of Holies. On the way to the Holy of Holies, I believe at Hatshepsut's temple. But if you look at the ceiling, again, leading into the Holy of Holies, you find
that symbol,
the winged disc again, over and over and over. So, yeah, go ahead and I will try to find the starfish.
That's incredible. Or maybe the Saqqara video where we're showing the starfish. I don't know.
I haven't organized all the videos yet, which I probably should. Chris told me, Everard, he told me the first thing you do is organize all the videos. And me, I just started putting together a video.
You started putting together videos.
Yeah, so I should go and organize them all.
Okay, so Cosmic Mortality just had a really great question. I was just wondering, so when we die, where do we go? Do we or do we not go into the light? Or where do we go exactly? Okay, so before we did what we did in the pyramid, I would say don't go towards the light. That's just going to throw you back into the reincarnation process. But I don't think it would have mattered. I think it was the way things were before we did what we did was that when you die, you just get recycled, and it's not even a question of where you go or where you don't go. I think it didn't matter. You were just going to be recycled again and again and again, and have your mind wiped, your memory wiped, and that was that. It wasn't set up to be like that. It was set up to be a choice and to be an independent, self-led journey where you get to decide where you go from then on out, because it's not really a death. If you're organic consciousness, then you exist outside of this outside of this reality. And it's just a question of, do you want to exit the game that you're in, the simulation that you're in, or do you want to, you know, go on ahead? And if you've already kind of decided, okay, well, I want this to be an ongoing thing where I harden myself and I learn, and I learn to be a better person, et cetera, then you can, you know, do a weighing of the heart ceremony and have that be your, you know, your method of not hardening yourself. I'm trying to think of what's the word for it, of making yourself a better person, of like, you know, how you put a diamond through that roughing process so it can, you know, be more splendorous than it already is. If you're going through that kind of thing, then yes, you can go through a weighing of the heart ceremony. And I'm wondering if this reality is kind of a place where we are, because it's not punishment, it's making sure that you can be a responsible person, to be outside of the matrix in a reality that can't be reset and that you could hurt or bring harm to. And that this reality is like a practice run, you know, that it doesn't end until you're at a certain level of consciousness where you can act responsibly in a real reality. I don't know.
That's a good theory. You know, I've thought, like, what if, because they're trying to create this. They're trying to create like a virtual reality world where prisoners go for rehabilitation. And, you know, if we go along the lines that this was a prison, what if we are prisoners that are going through rehabilitation? And that's what the whole key of life is, and you go over it over and over and over again until you can get to the weighing of the heart ceremony, and you finally are like, you know, your heart is lighter than a feather. And so, well, it's not actually, I learned this in Egypt. It's not whether your heart is lighter than a feather or heavier than a feather. It's, does your heart weigh the same as Mot's feather?
Mot's feather.
Yes.
Yep.
So that brings a whole new meaning to all of this. It has to be in perfect balance, according to this Egyptologist we were talking to there. And it was the first time I heard anything like that. But I found that to be very interesting.
That's actually true. Yeah, I did verify that was actually the case.
Oh, yeah, I didn't doubt that it was. I just haven't heard it before.
Yeah. And the reason why that is because the feather, because Ma'at, for one thing, she wasn't a real goddess. You know, she wasn't a program. She was a principle. And the principle of Ma'at is the bare naked truth. It is truth that doesn't have any propaganda or any lies or any bullshit or any excuses piled on top of it. It's just truth the way it is, you know, just basic truth. And when we strip all of the ego stuff off of us, at the end of the day, that's what's left is the truth about who we really are and what we really are. And so the weighing of the heart ceremony was meant to show, are you, who are you really? You know, not this, you know, ego persona, but without that, you know, let's strip that away. Who are you really? And if your heart was heavier or lighter than that feather, if it didn't match what you needed to be, then you get eaten. The heart gets eaten by, what was it?
Here, I've got it right here.
Ah, yes.
So yeah, I want to go over this with a whole new eyes here. So up on the screen we have the infamous weighing of the heart ceremony. So the deceased is taken to Anubis. The deceased is taken to Anubis, where it's weighed on the scales with Mot's feather. There's Mot's feather right there. And you see it has to be even. It can't be higher or lower. And then Toth records it, and if your heart is the same, then you proceed on, which is not showing the other half here. But you've got Osiris and Isis and Nephthys over here, and Horus actually leads you into the other place. But then you have the crocodile here, who I thought was Sobek, but it's actually not Sobek. Ammit. It's Ammit. And so if you look at this could actually be reincarnation here, where instead of your heart getting eaten and some kind of horrible, torturous death happens to you, this is, Ammit here represents reincarnation and the wheel of reincarnation, because you're chewed up, and then what happens after you're chewed up? You're turned into poop, and it comes out, and then you go back to the ground, you fertilize the ground, new life spawns, and that's the, whole circle of life there. So this could just be symbolic of going into reincarnation, because your heart's not quite ready to move on to the next. The problem up to this point was this whole process was gone. Like, as soon as you died, you boom, go right into the reincarnation and get cycled over and over and over and over and over again. There was no choice to exit the game. There was no weighing of the heart. There was nothing like that. Now, I think what we've done is by fixing the system, we've brought it back to a place once again of balance. The key is balance. The key has always been balance. So yeah, to answer the question about the white light, I don't know. It's hard to say what the white light is, but I don't think that it's the trap that it used to be. But again, if you have a choice to not go towards the light, I wouldn't go towards the light. Like, yeah, I would go in a different direction, because you could always go back and go towards the light. And it's not like if you go away from it, like, go explore for a little bit and see what's on the other side. But I don't know. What do you think?
I think you're exactly right. I wouldn't want to go towards the light, because, yeah, but I don't think I will. I don't think there will be a light, because
did you see what Rad wrote? She said, I love watching your shows with my son.
Her
He's
baby's
only
only 5 weeks old.
But it's never too early to get them started on their mission.
No, it isn't. Oh, congratulations. I want to see pictures. I want to see baby pictures.
Yes, that's amazing. So, anything else that we should go over?
I think there is. Oh, yeah. I was also going to mention that.
Oh, it's Joanna. Hey, Joanna.
Ammit.
We mentioned you a couple times earlier in the show.
Aw.
Yeah.
Ammit.
About how you're always on point with all your comments on Facebook.
There's a lot of you out there that really have good questions for us. So Ammit actually has a whirlpool like symbol, kind of like what's the symbol that's on? It's like on her arm, but and that also could be seen as a symbol of reincarnation. It's like a pinwheel looking symbol on her arm.
I'm not sure, but AI Captain. AI Captain. Oh, it says AI Captain.
AI Captain.
But isn't the feather still an AI program concept? How do you weigh the same or be true as an AI program? That's a good point. I have another theory. It's kind of controversial, though. Nah, I won't get into it. But let's just put it like this. I don't think this applies to everybody. I think that this is a construct created for a particular consciousness, not necessarily NPC consciousness. But there's some of us that come into the Matrix to do something, to fix it. There's others that come into the Matrix because they are here to learn something or to ascend or to do all of that. Like, that's the thing about when we talk on our shows, is that we speak from our perspective, but there are so many other perspectives out there, and people are here for so many different reasons that you can't really take what we say and apply it to every single consciousness, because it's so vast and so different. What do you think?
I think that's, unfortunately, yeah, correct. It's like, I don't know about you, Chris, but I didn't go through a weighing of the heart ceremony. I just went straight to Amenti. I just went straight to a place that was gorgeous. It was the most beautiful place I'd ever been. And I felt like I was home, and it was just amazing. And there wasn't any stopping to weigh any heart or anything like that. I think what I went through getting there, was the weighing of the heart. It was basically purging all of these implants and all of the BS from in my body and in my life and in my spirit, and cleaning out my soul so that I could see who I really was.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the cleaning of the soul, because, see, back to what we were saying earlier about the body and the chakras and literally everything being part of the matrix. At the core level of all this, all of our experiences are also part of the matrix. So what my goal has been up to this point is to be able to tap into the consciousness that I am and that I was before I even entered the matrix, which brought me to the understanding of why I entered the matrix to begin with. But there was, you know, over the last 10,000 years, there's been life after life after life after life after life after life after life. So now there's this big mountain of identity programming that has been superimposed over who I was before I actually came into the matrix. And so in order for me to get back to that point of what I call raw consciousness, I had to remove every single one of those identities so I can understand why I came into the matrix to begin with. Then once I removed all of those, then at the Temple of Isis, it was total recall about every one of those lives and the importance of what I'm doing here. So now I understood why I came into the matrix. Now I understood what I have to do within the matrix, and I understood how I laid everything out to get to the point of what I had to do within the matrix. So it was undoing all of that first before I was even able to remember everything. And had I had total recall of everything, every past life prior to understanding why I came into the matrix, then I would be caught up in the dramas of the matrix, and I would be caught up in all the different identities of the matrix, believing that that's real, instead of the very base level of raw consciousness as to why I even came into the matrix to begin with. So had it not been for that unraveling, none of it would have made sense, and none of it would have unfolded the way it did. And the very purpose of me coming in wouldn't have been fulfilled because I'd be so caught up in all these dramas. It's like a snake eating its tail, you know? You've got to go in circles sometimes, and you've got to unravel first, and then you remember everything, and then everything comes into perspective. So there's some of us that came in for different reasons, and some of us that are here for different reasons and things like that.
Yes, and to answer your question in my own way, aye, Captain. The feather is part of the matrix, but because it's more of a principle, you know, it's kind of like, you know, how some computer code, you know, how it says true and then equals, if such and such equals true, then, you know, it'll set like a certain function. And it's a program that's just for like one function. And if it's true or false, it does certain things. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how the feather of Ma'at is. Not Ma'at herself or itself, but that feather thing. I think that's what was changed. Something was changed with the coding, and that caused the virus to be able to mutate over and bleed over into the AI and start overwrite that whole function.
Let me say something else about the Temple of Isis experience. In order to access the areas of the other dimensions that I needed to access, I needed to understand who I was, like I said, before I came into the machine. And I can't tell you what my name is in the real world. You'll figure it out when you get to the real world. Or maybe you'll figure it out here too, but it's neither here nor there. But I had to proclaim myself to be me before these doors were opening. Like, had I not remembered, had I still believed that I was Chris Geo, had I still believed that I was the previous lives or the lives before that or the lives before that, had I believed any of this, the doors wouldn't have opened because I wouldn't have been proclaiming, this is who I am. Open. Boom. Open. 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 I mean, there were like 24, 36, something like that, different doors that were just bam, 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 bam. And every single door I would hit, I'd have to proclaim who I was. And I was demanding the doors to be opened because of who I am. So that's, again, for me personally, that was the importance of understanding my raw consciousness and who I am as raw consciousness, not who I am as the matrix experiences that we're having.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think we're out of questions.
I'm getting exhausted.
I am too.
Anyways, and it's funny because we've only done 2 hours so far, but I'm just feeling like, you know, reliving these experiences takes a lot out of you.
It takes a lot out of you.
And
yeah.
it was difficult to do. The pyramid was even more difficult. But it was that much more rewarding. And
it was huge.
Like I said, we've got the video of the subterranean chamber that we're going to be releasing over the next week. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm just reading the question. When and how did you discover who you really are? Sheree recognized it first.
Yeah.
And she blurted it out like...
Well, we were in ayahuasca one time.
Like 7 years ago. She's like, I think I know who you are. And I'm like, oh, that's absolutely ridiculous.
That's absurd.
And I just blew it off after that.
Yeah.
But then the realization came more and more and more and more through the experiences, through the ayahuasca experiences, through unlocking. Like, I mean, it was brutal. Like having to go through and deprogram all the matrix programs. I mean, there's some harsh shit that we go through in this life and in previous lives as well. And, you know, sometimes we get so caught up in the game that we do things in the game that is not what our raw consciousness is about. And it's actually contrary to what our raw consciousness is about, simply because we're so caught up in the game. So I'll give you an example. In a previous life, I was a hitman in probably Chicago or, you know, some area like that, 1920, 1930s. And that was a complete wasted life. I mean, I died when I was like 18 years old. And I killed a lot of people. And I killed a lot of people because it was business. No other reason. That was it. And that was the way that I ended. That life was completely and totally meaningless to the mission that I'm doing here. But it was one of those times when the memory wipe was so strong, I didn't have enough time to be able to remember anything at all, period. And I got so caught up in the game. And so I'm looking at my raw consciousness, or from my raw consciousness perspective, and going, how did I get so caught up in the game that I started playing the game like that? So, you know, having to deprogram from all of that and traumas that went on in this life, and this life, things happened to me as opposed to the other way around. So, you know, having to deprogram from all of that, it was brutal, but it was key and pivotal and fundamental to getting to that level. And then after going through all of that, then I realized who I am. I realized why I'm here, and I realized what I had to do. So I know that's a long way to answer your question, but it was the deprogramming. It was the letting go of everything.
Yeah.
Including the past lives.
Right.
Like a lot of times we're defined by our past lives.
Right.
But that's not the case. The only reason that I needed to remember all of my past lives in full total recall is not so I can become more tied into those identities, but it was so I can remember the bits and pieces and little clues that I had left myself in the incarnations that actually I was able to remember just a little bit of who I am and leave myself those breadcrumbs to be able to get to this point now to be able to do what I needed to do.
Right. We have a burning last minute question from Lowland Prophets. Did you remember any future lives?
It's not going to be any future lives.
No, I don't think so either for me. I'm done.
As a matter of fact, there's one last thing that I have to do in this matrix, and that has to do with helping people to fully understand what the matrix is so they can find their way out of the matrix. And I've committed to doing this for the remainder of this incarnation, and I'm going to do it. And then after this, no more. I'm done.
Yeah, me too.
And if the machine gets fucked up again,
we're just turning it off.
I'm not coming back to fix it.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody else will. Hopefully somebody else will. But my vote, and I don't mean to sound harsh with this, but my vote will be to unplug it regardless of the cost.
Pull the plug.
Yeah. So.
Yep. Aye, Captain, could this be our first time? No past lives. I don't sense any past lives, but I'm definitely a co-creating programmer ready to make a difference. Think, what about like starseeds?
Can you say that again?
Could this be our first time? No past lives. I don't sense any past lives, but I'm definitely a co-creating programmer ready to make a difference.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we can inject ourselves into any point, period.
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, I didn't have the ability to come through the mind wipe and finish what I needed to do in one life. I needed 10,000 years to set everything up to get to this point. But that doesn't necessarily have to apply to other people. I mean, it's very, you know, we came in through the stars, you know, the whole starseed thing. You know, it's been romanticized, like, oh, we have, you know, family in the stars and this and that. No. Don't complicate it so much. Stars are entry points, and we come in through the stars at a particular point and inject ourselves into a body here into this matrix experience at a point where we need to be. But we are subjected to a memory wipe. And so you're like, you're rolling the dice when you say, okay, I'm going to come to the end point here to try to jump in at the end point. Because then you're like, oh, well, maybe I'm not giving myself enough time to be able to fully go through everything. So for me personally, like I said, I needed 10,000 years, but others may not.
Question from Joanna. Hey, you said your trip was written. What if we all just came here to play our parts?
We might have.
Could be.
Yep. Free will is an illusion.
An illusion. Yep.
Yep. It could very well be. I don't know. But on that note, I am exhausted.
I am too, and I think we need to wrap it up. We love you guys.
We love you. I'll tell you what, we'll take a quick break. Come back, finish it up right on the other side. I think maybe if we turn the AC on for just a few minutes, we'll
Welcome back, traveler. Remember, what we do as ourselves dies with us. What we do as raw consciousness remains immortal. Therefore, beware of the great I Am as you step beyond the veil.
All right, let's do one more quick segment just because we love everybody. And there's people who are just joining us, who haven't been hanging out with us, and they want to hang out a little bit longer. So it has been an incredible journey. So at this point, it's really up to each and every one of you. What do you want to do with the future? What kind of future do you want? And, you know, I wish I could show you the things that I've seen, and I wish I could show you the understanding of what I've come to when it comes to this machine. I can only say that we didn't create it for nefarious reasons. You know, I said earlier, what if we're prisoners in this machine, et cetera, et cetera. It's something that I speculated at one point, but I don't feel that anymore. I haven't seen that. We created the machine for a particular purpose. And so a lot of people went out of the machine. They went out of the machine. They went out, 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 out. But the question is, why are you in such a rush to get out of the machine? Are you tired of playing the game? And if so, that's a very valid reason, no doubt about that. But is it that you went out of the machine so badly because the machine has been so messed up? And so it's an equal proportion to how the machine has been messed up versus how badly you want to get out of the machine. And I understand that wholeheartedly. But what if we can make this machine a beautiful place again? What if we can make it a place where it's not overrun by NPCs? It's not overrun by NPCs who are creating systems of control, and that we're all subjected to these systems of control, to these governments and religions and all of these things. And we can actually fulfill our purpose in this machine. And the reason we came into this machine, not necessarily a purpose in the sense that we came here on a mission to do something, but rather we came here to learn something. We came here to experience something. We came here to enjoy the machine and benefit from the machine. So what if we could create a world or a reality for ourselves where we're benefiting from the machine and the machine is working for us in the way that it was intended to, as opposed to the other way around? We've been living in the machine as slaves to the machine, but that's not the way that it was supposed to be. So before you start asking yourself, well, how do I get out? How do I get out? How do I get out? Maybe you want to get out, but what if a better way to approach it is, how can this machine benefit me and my journey into ascension of consciousness? Somebody asked earlier, you know, if we're the creators, then who created us? And my question to them would be, well, are you infinite? If you're infinite, you don't have a creator. So if we are infinite, and as Sheree said before, we created this machine so we can experience what it's like to be finite. We can experience what it's like to have a beginning and an end. We can experience these different chapters in this world of duality that we've created. Then let's experience it in the best way that we can to help to elevate the infinite consciousness that we are. But just because we're infinite consciousness doesn't necessarily mean that we are ascended consciousness. There's still a process. There could be a process that needs to take place. And maybe that's the whole reason why we created the machine to begin with. So maybe we should start asking ourselves, how can we live better with the machine? How can we make the most of this time that we have left in this incarnation? And then after this incarnation is over, then we can decide, do we want out of the machine, or do we want to do, is there still more in the machine that we still need to do? But I have been guilty of it myself too, looking at this machine as an adversarial machine, looking at the AI as an adversarial thing, when it's really the infection that was the problem. Now, what if we still have some of that infection within our own consciousness? That might be the work that needs to be done still while we're in this machine. And imagine leaving the machine after you've lived 1,000 lifetimes in the machine, and you get out of the machine and you say, shit, I didn't get what I needed out of that machine. It was so messed up for so long, but I still didn't get what I needed to get out of that machine. And so you hop out of the machine, and then you find yourself having to start all over again, that whole 1,000 lifetime process all over again, because you exited the machine before you were ready to exit the machine, before you fulfilled the purpose for which you came into the machine to begin with. That's something that I've been asking myself lately. Is that a possibility? So if the principle of balance, which that's what this whole mission has been about, is restoring balance, if that applies to everything in the machine, maybe that's the whole key there, is now how can we live in balance with the machine while we're still here?
How can we learn to live alongside it? As I said, and that was a great video we did in Delphi. the first day that we were in Greece, we did this video. We did a live stream where I talked. I don't know what came over me. I just started talking and about how we have to live alongside it and kind of alongside the planet, alongside this reality. The machine can, is beautiful. Actually, it's
a nice machine. I mean, we did well for ourselves.
We did well.
Like, go to Greece or, some of these beautiful parts that are untouched, and you realize, wow, this is what this machine is supposed to be like. Not the crap that it is now, but there's still remnants of what the machine was created to be. It was actually pretty beautiful.
Yeah, it was. And the virus is the problem. And the virus lies within us, within the organic consciousness. It's an organic, it's part of the duality. It's a very dangerous, small, but dangerous liability in a duality universe. In a duality simulation, you're going to always have that small chance that the ability for mankind to go dark or to the dark side mutates into something that's unnaturally dark, which infects the AI, which also screws up the reincarnation process. So
it's pretty interesting. And I feel like, these revelations, these understandings, I'm going to speak the truth as I know it, and I'm going to tell you my understandings as I know it. I see a big problem with this, though, that what we're doing here is we're painting ourselves into a corner because everybody likes an adversary. Everybody likes to have these grand tales of, oh, there's Palladians waiting on the other side. There's an ascension process. There's all this wonderful stuff that, you can sit down and you can enjoy listening to and feel like you're a part of and all that. And, I understand that's how the whole New Age movement and community functions. They function on the desire for more, and they give you all this BS that is an infotainment. I mean, it's not even info at this point. It's just like, it's fiction. It's storytelling. But it's fun. Mm-hmm. It's fun to have these beings out there. It's fun to have this, oh, we're going to fight the AI. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. For me, the virus has been taken care of. Yeah. Where do we go from here? That's the question. Maybe you can leave us that in the comments. Where do we go from here?
I don't know, but I feel like it's every day is a celebration. Now that we've done what we came here to do, every day is awesome.
I've never I stopped. I haven't had a single drink in 8 years. I've got a bottle of Johnny Walker downstairs. And we bought it when we were still in Colorado, which was like 5 years ago or something like that, 6 years ago. And I cracked it open for a toothache, and that's it. I didn't sit down and enjoy a glass of wine until after all this was done. And we went to Greece, and I enjoyed the wine. I enjoyed dancing. I don't think I've ever danced, ever, in our entire relationship.
No, never.
I was dancing. I was drinking. I was enjoying company. I was, enjoying the machine for the first time in my life. I mean,
in this incarnation.
It's, I understand something needed to be done, and something was done. But now that it's done, you have to enjoy a little bit. That's the thing. All the new cage programming, as somebody said in the chat, the truther programming is way worse, but it all keeps you from being able to enjoy the machine, keeps you from being able to enjoy each other, keeps you from being able to enjoy your friends and family and the sights and smells and touches and feelings and sensations of the machine. The reason we created the machine for all these different sensations and experiences. Why do we do that to ourselves? And when is the point in your particular life that you come to and say, okay, I can finally enjoy the time that I have here? That's what I want to see. I want to see people enjoying the time that they have here. Working on your ascension, working on your consciousness, you know, doing all of that. But at the same time, enjoying doing it. That's key, in my humble opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looking forward to each day as another celebration because it's another day.
Yes,
you know,
definitely.
Is really important.
So on that note, I think we should wrap it up now.
I think so too. Kiss
the one you love right now. You never know when the last time is going to be. Thank you for joining us, and we'll try to do another show tomorrow, but if the internet keeps dropping the way it has been, I don't think that it's good to do a show because it doesn't add value to you guys out there, because it's a bad experience when it's constantly dropping. If you're watching on the archives, none of this is relevant. But
a live experience.
Yeah, and it's a pain in the ass for me too, because I have to go back and edit the archive. I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to render it, I've got to upload it. I mean, it takes up like 5 hours of my day minimum in order to do it. So that's why I'm a little bit grumpy about that situation. But anyway it goes, kiss the one you love right now. You never know when the last time is going to be. Enjoy yourself. You know, just love each other, and it's not all bad. There's a lot of good.
Yeah.
And I think it's time that we start seeing the good now, instead of just seeing the bad and the bad and the bad and bad and bad. And the bad is going to be here for a little bit longer. Things are rebooting right now. We'll talk about this during the Great Pyramid Show, but things are rebooting. It's going to take a little time for the AI to reboot. Might be a little bit rough during the reboot process, because the AI is really, that virus is really, you know, trying to maintain control. But they're disappearing. They're disappearing a little bit at a time throughout the course of the next few years. So love ya, and we'll see you even further beyond the veil.